Hey guys, what is up? It is the Fast Break Report here, bringing you guys another vlog. So, the trade deadline's one day away. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock is the NBA trade deadline on Thursday, February 8th. And I want to talk about some guys that are guaranteed to get moved. Like some guys that have a very high likelihood of being on a different team, by tomorrow afternoon. There's a couple guys in the league that I think are definitely getting traded. There's a lot of other guys that I think are just speculative, but in this video, I'll go over all of it. Guys I think might get traded, guys who are definitely getting traded. That's like what I'm trying to do with this video. Is like we're just gonna go down the whole list of guys that I think are definitely on the move and guys that I think could get moved. So, the first guy that I think is definitely getting moved, as in, I feel like there's no questions asked that he's getting moved, is Evan Fournier of the New York Knicks. He's only played 3 games for them this year. It's obvious Thibs doesn't want to play him. He just sits on the fucking bench making $18.8 million. He's getting paid $19 million next year. I guarantee you the Knicks want to come off his contract. Free up some cap space. That would free up some money for them to give OG Anunoby, who I'm sure they would like to retain, considering they've been on a fucking tear since they traded for him. I don't really know who they could... excuse me. I really don't know who they could acquire in exchange for Evan Fournier. He is getting paid a lot of money. He's not really that desirable. But maybe to the right suitor, a team that's looking to tank for draft picks. Maybe a team like Chicago. We do know that DeRozan did say he wanted to play for the Knicks. Now, granted, I think the Knicks would have to come up with a better trade package than Evan Fournier and a young player plus picks for DeRozan. Fournier is good, but if they wanted to land DeRozan, there's not really anybody on their roster that I look at that I'm like, yeah, that's the guy, Maybe Dante DiVincenzo, but still, even he's 27. Evan Fournier is going to be a hard guy to move, but he's a guy that I feel like is definitely getting traded. Almost no questions asked is getting traded. Another guy that I think is going to be traded is Joe Harris from the Detroit Pistons. I know Bojan Bogdanovic is probably going to get traded as well. He's a guy that a lot of teams seem to be very intrigued by. He's still a good player, even at 34 years old. But Joe Harris is making $19.9 million this year. He's only averaging 2.5 points per game. He could be used as a salary filler contract. James Wiseman is another guy that could move. It's very obvious that Jalen Duren is the future of this team at center. So James Wiseman's 22 with 12.1 left on his contract. He's a guy that could be moved. It's like the top 3 guys getting paid money on their roster are guys that could definitely be gone. Alec Burks is a guy who could be gone too. Alec Burks is a pretty good 3-point shooter. Teams have been inquiring about him, but I don't know if they're actually going to move off of him. Alec Burks is a guy that, I think he just needs a change of scenery. Killian Hayes is a guy that is available. He's a guy that I think is definitely getting traded. There's supposedly Monty Williams is reluctant to trade him or whatever, but I feel like it's not gonna matter. I feel like honestly, if I am Detroit's front office, I want Jaden Ivey getting the playing time that Killian Hayes is getting. And if I have to trade Killian Hayes to do that, then fuck it. We're trading Killian Hayes because Jaden Ivey is a guy that I think has the potential to be really good. And I think the only way you get a chance to play him is to force Monty Williams to play him. And Killian Hayes, I think, he's 22. Some team will be interested in him. He's a young prospect. Maybe not Charlotte, but, there's a team out there that I'm sure would be interested in Killian Hayes, considering he's only 22. One other guy that I think is definitely getting moved here plays for the Chicago Bulls, and it's actually 2 guys. It's DeMar DeRozan and Alex Caruso are 2 guys that I think are definitely getting moved. Zach LaVine is out of the picture at this point. They've been trying to trade his ass for months now and still can't get a decent deal. So I'm not very high on Zach LaVine getting traded. Another guy that the Bulls will probably try to move but won't move is Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball's contract, he's making $20.4 million this year. He has a player option next year for $21.4 million, basically 21.395, so basically, 21.4. And Lonzo Ball is more than likely definitely going to pick up that player option. Now, I don't know if Lonzo Ball is going to come back. That still remains to be seen. I personally think his career is over. I know the Bulls are hanging on to him. They're not waiving him because they want to see. But it's very rare that a player takes off from the NBA for 3 or 4 years, and then comes back and is still the same player. He's got to still adjust to the NBA game and stuff like that. I just think if they can move off of Lonzo Ball's contract and find a sucker to take him, they're going to. He's a guy that I think are going to be trying to shop around a lot for salary filler, maybe for another guy or a good player or something like that. But the only guys on this roster that I think are definitely like safe at this point, that are part of the old regime, I guess you could say, is Nikola Vucevic and Zach LaVine. And really, I don't even know how much Nikola Vucevic is safe. This is a team that needs to blow it up. So if they're trading DeRozan and Alex Caruso, I wouldn't be surprised if they try to, get something for Vucevic, with DeRozan and Ball. Those are three or four guys that I'm just like, I could see the Bulls trying to get off of them. Another guy I think is definitely getting moved, and this might come as a shocker, maybe not, is Miles Bridges of the Charlotte Hornets. For whatever fucking reason, they are adamant about moving him. I think the duo between him and Brandon Miller has looked astoundingly good. They have just been very good as a pairing at the 2 and 3 slot. And for whatever reason, Charlotte is just like, yeah, we've had enough of them. Miles Bridges is a guy I could see getting moved. Gordon Hayward is another guy. I don't think Kyle Lowry is going to get moved. He's got a very hard contract to move because of how old he is. I don't think he's going to be a major suitor for anybody, but you never know. But I think a couple guys that are definitely moving is Miles Bridges and Gordon Hayward. Those are two guys I think they're definitely going to come off of or try to come off of. Miles Bridges is getting traded. I'm just going to tell you right now. Miles Bridges, if they're still trying to trade for him, they're asking for a team's best young player and a first-round pick for him. If I'm the Chicago Bulls, I'm all over this every day of the fucking week. I don't know if you want Kobe White, if you want Patrick Williams, I don't know if they even have any first-round picks, but if I'm Chicago, I'm trying to find some way to acquire Miles Bridges, especially because I'm getting rid of DeRozan. Bridges is a solid defender. Through the month of January, he fucking killed it. He shot 42% from 3 and I think 47 or 48% from the field. He's a guy that can ball. I'm actually shocked that they're trying to move him. It's actually almost a little worrisome, but, if you're the Chicago Bulls, maybe you'll put up with his bullshit for a year or two because you're not really going anywhere anyway. And they could at least re-sign Miles Bridges, I think, to a bigger contract, give him a max deal, and, I think they would have his bird rights at that point. But Miles Bridges is a guy that I think if I'm one of these bad teams in the league, if I'm the Detroit Pistons, maybe, if I am the Chicago Bulls, even if I'm the San Antonio Spurs, maybe, if I can get Miles Bridges on my roster, I'm doing it. If I'm the Indiana Pacers, even, I'm finding a way to get Miles Bridges on my roster if I can. If that's all they're asking for, honestly, Miles Bridges is pretty good. I wouldn't mind giving up Jarris Walker and a first-round pick for Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges locks the fuck down on defense. He's pretty fucking good. And, that's a trade that I think could happen that I would be perfectly fine with, and it would give the Pacers that 3 guard that they need, or that good 3-and-D wing, a guy who can go out there and get you a bucket. Miles Bridges has been phenomenal. Okay, regardless of the off-court stuff, dude has been phenomenal. I'm shocked that they're trading him. I think trading Miles Bridges, granted they still have Brandon Miller, but I think trading Miles Bridges might come back to bite them in the ass one day. So those are two guys that I think are definitely getting traded. If we go to the Milwaukee Bucks, one guy I think that I think is definitely getting traded from the Bucks is Pat Connaughton. Connaughton, if I said that correctly, I don't know. I think I said his name wrong, but they've been trying to trade him for a couple of weeks now. He's a guy that I'm actually shocked is available because I think he's a pretty good player, but they could be looking to come off of him to create some cap space. Every guy on their roster that's a bench player is on a 1-year, $2 million deal on a vet minimal deal, and they could free up some cap space and get rid of Connaughton and maybe get back to young players. That would be really beneficial for them. So that's a guy I think from the Bucks. From the Phoenix Suns, we got two guys, Grayson Allen and Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon wants more shots. He's not going to get it in Phoenix. If they could get something decent for Eric Gordon, he's 35. They could just get a younger player. I think they would do it. Give Eric Gordon to some team that's loaded with young talent that maybe wants a vet guy there to help the rookies. A team like maybe Detroit, could take on Eric Gordon and let him get all the shots he wants. And I don't know really what you would send back. Maybe you send back Killian Hayes. Killian Hayes for Eric Gordon. The Suns really need some point guard play. Granted, Killian Hayes isn't the greatest player in the world, but Eric Gordon isn't really either. If the 3-point shot's not going, he's kind of fucking useless. So, it would easily give the Phoenix Suns a chance to get another point guard, and it would allow them to get off Eric Gordon, who's bitching about his playing time and his shot attempts as well. So, that's another thing. Grayson Allen is a guy I think is definitely getting traded. And the reason I say that is because as much as the Suns would like to keep him, they haven't been able to renegotiate a contract extension with him. He's got 1 year left on his deal. It's worth $9 million for this year. He's 28. Even though he's been stroking the three as of one of the best players in the NBA to shoot the 3-pointer right now, some team's going to want Grayson Allen. And I don't know what they're going to give up for him. I have a feeling like the Suns might try to do a Grayson Allen for TJ McConnell swap. I don't know how Pacers fans feel about that, considering we're trying to get rid of Buddy Hield. And I think TJ McConnell, it's kind of a fair swap, but I kind of think what TJ McConnell brings to the Pacers is not something that can be replicated really by anybody in the league at the moment. So I don't know. I understand we're trying to come off Buddy Hield. Grayson Allen is a guy that you could probably bring back cheaper than Buddy Hield, but the thing is, then you're stuck with 2 shooters on your roster if you can't move Buddy Hield. So that's the flip side of the coin. It's like, do you really want 2 shooters on your roster that one guy you maybe can't move, and now you have a hole at the point guard position, and you have to play Andrew Nembhard, So I don't know. That's another thing. But those are 2 guys from the Phoenix Suns I definitely think are getting moved. Another guy that I think is definitely on the move for the Nets, there's actually 2 of them. One of them is Dorian Finney-Smith. Teams have been calling about him. I understand why. I think he's on the way out. And Royce O'Neal is another guy who's on an expiring deal. The Nets would like to maybe get some young players for these guys. I know the Nets want 2 first-round picks for Dorian Finney-Smith, but that's supposedly a pretty steep asking price. Hold on. I said it correctly. Mikal Bridges is another guy that I think could be on the move. I know that supposedly they've rejected 5 first-round picks for him, but every time the Nets come out and say they're not trading somebody, they end up trading them. With James Harden, we're not trading him, and they traded him. Kyrie Irving, we're not trading him, and they traded him. Kevin Durant, we're not trading him, and they traded him. Mikal Bridges, we're not trading him. Okay, but I think if the right deal comes along, somebody's gonna give the Nets a deal they can't refuse for Mikal Bridges. I feel like he's a guy that has more momentum to move than we're giving him credit for. I understand that they've been reluctant to trade him, or maybe they're playing hardball on purpose to get better offers. But Mikal Bridges is a guy that I think someone, preferably Houston, it'd be cool if they could get their first round pick this year back from Houston to get a top 5 pick. But I'm gonna be honest, if Houston sent over Cam Whitmore and sent them back their top 5 pick this year and a bunch of other stuff with it, I think they could land Mikal Bridges. Another guy that is on the move, I don't know if he's definitely going to get traded, but it seems like we've been trying. Maybe we're going to have to take less than we want, and that's Buddy Hield of the Indiana Pacers. Somebody is going to want Buddy. The question is, are the Pacers going to get what they want for Buddy? Buddy Hield is a great 3-point shooter, but he's a fucking liability in every single other department. When it comes to playing defense, specifically, dude can't play any fucking defense. And that's part of the reason I'm Grayson Allen maybe wouldn't be a bad swap for Buddy Hield, because Grayson Allen is actually capable of playing defense, at least at a level way higher than Buddy Hield is. he's a guy that I look at and I'm like, yeah, like Buddy Hield's going to get moved to somebody. The Sixers have expressed interest in Buddy Hield. So I don't know. We'll have to see. I don't really know if the 76ers have anybody we'd be interested in outside of Robert Covington and Nicholas Batum for like a 3-and-D guy. You could maybe, I don't know, maybe it's Batum or Covington, preferably Covington plus maybe Daniel House for Buddy Hield. I don't really know what's going to happen with this, but I do know Buddy Hield has been on defense abysmal, and the Pacers really need to shore up that end of the floor. Obi Toppin's another guy off the Pacers that I could see getting moved. They've made him and Buddy Hield available, and rumors are the Pacers want Isaac Okoro from the Cleveland Cavaliers, so Obi Toppin's a guy I think will definitely get moved. I know Pacers fans don't want to hear that, but at the end of the day, it is what it is. This team's trying to win games, and if it means moving Buddy Hield and Obi Toppin to do it, they're going to do it. One team that I think is going to be sellers at the deadline is the Atlanta Hawks. I don't know how much, I think they're going to be sellers, but I'm also not positive on it. They've been winning a lot of games as of late with DeJounte Murray on their roster, and they've been, trying to trade DeJounte Murray. I'm not sure why. If I'm the Hawks and I was trading anybody, it'd be fucking Trae Young. I'm just putting that out there. I think Trae Young is highly, highly overrated for what he does. He's a glorified shot chucker who puts up 27 and 10 a game, and he needs about 20 shots a game to average 20 points a game, which is kind of pathetic. I think DeJounte Murray is the better closer. I think he's the better defender. He's not the better playmaker, but I just think if I were to pick two guys, right, that I had to go forward with in my career and make somebody a franchise player, if I was the Hawks, I would look to build around DeJounte Murray before I do Trae Young. Sorry, Trae Young is he's a liability on defense. I mean, he's 6'1". I just don't think, he's not Stephen Curry. You know what I'm saying? And I know the Hawks maybe think he will become Stephen Curry, but I don't think he's that good. I just don't. I feel like if you took, if you made Trae Young shoot 10 shots, right? 10 shots a game, and still ask him to score, 15 a game or something like that, I don't think he could do it. He's a guy that I'm just I think he just chucks a lot of shots and puts up big numbers because he plays on a bad team. And I know it's going to sound like hater talk, but it's just what it is. Clint Capella's a guy that I could see them moving off of to maybe get something else. DeAndre Hunter, Bogdan Bogdanovic. There's a lot of guys on this roster that I could see getting moved. The Hawks are looking to rebuild. The only guys on the roster that appear to be safe are Trae Young, Onyeka Okongwu, and Jalen Johnson. Everybody else on their roster, I think, is up for grabs. I'm just going to call it what it is. This team, they're 10th currently in the East, and the DeJounte Murray, Trae Young experiment hasn't worked out for them. Granted, I don't know how much of a real, shot they really gave it, but they're a team that I just feel like they need a lot of changes top to bottom, not only on the team, but in the front office and on the coaching staff as well. The Wizards, they're a team that I think could also move off of Kyle Kuzma. I'm sure they would probably like to move off of Jordan Poole, but I don't think that's happening. No, I don't think that's happening. Nobody wants that contract. Maybe the Warriors. I don't think the Warriors would trade Andrew Wiggins for him. I just don't think that's going to happen, especially after they got rid of him. But Kyle Kuzma's a guy that can maybe be on the move. The Wizards are going nowhere fast, and Kyle Kuzma's 28. He's a guy that deserves to go someplace else. The Pacers maybe could look into that. I don't know. Maybe you trade Buddy Hield and something for Kyle Kuzma. Maybe you trade Buddy Hield and Obi Toppin for Kyle Kuzma. Granted, Kyle Kuzma isn't exactly a model of defense, but Kyle Kuzma can play the three. He's 6'9". He averages 21.8 a game. I am not a fan of Kyle Kuzma really at all. I don't like his attitude towards the game. Granted, he's gotten more mature, but he's a guy that I'm just I don't think he's moves the needle a whole lot. He's not a guy that I view as a star player. It's hard for me to view him as a star player, but 21 points per game feels like the new 15 points per game in the NBA these days, and I get that the Pacers fan base wants him. They're there's a small minority out there that wants him, But, 4 years, he's got a 4-year contract. I mean, do you really want to be tied up in that? Granted, he has a descending contract, so he's getting paid $25 million this year, then $23 next year, then $21 the year after that, then $19 million the year after that. So his contract is descending, not ascending. So that's one benefit to trading for Kyle Kuzma. His contract actually gets cheaper over the next 4 years. But I don't know. Like, if I'm the Pacers, I want a bigger fish than that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think the Pacers want a bigger fish than a Kyle Kuzma, an Isaac Okoro, a Royce O'Neal. I think they want something better than that. But it's a possibility. You never know. But I think he's a guy that'll definitely be on the move. From the Raptors, Bruce Brown. Bruce Brown, we traded him for Pascal Siakam, obviously, and a lot of teams want him and Gary Trent Jr. and Dennis Schroeder. They're looking to trade Chris Boucher also, if I said that correctly. The Raptors are selling. I'm going to call it what it is. Like, I honestly don't think anybody on their roster is safe except for Scotty Barnes, RJ Barrett, and Emmanuel Quickley. Everybody else on their roster, I think, is up for grabs, especially Thaddeus Young. He's 6'8", 35 years old. He's their vet, but he's getting paid $8 million. Thaddeus Young would be a good vet on a young team like, the Detroit Pistons or the San Antonio Spurs. I think they had him at one point, but Young would be a nice vet on a young team. A guy who, he was a good vet for the Pacers. I'm sure he's a good vet for the Raptors. He was a good vet for the Chicago Bulls. He's a guy that, if you want a good veteran presence in your locker room, Thaddeus Young is a guy you can go after. Granted, probably not going to play a whole lot, but if you're looking for guidance in the locker room, he's a good guy. This one's going to be a little bit of a shocker, but I've been talking about this for a while with the Los Angeles Clippers, Paul George. And the reason I say Paul George is because I understand the Clippers are first in the West right now. But here's the thing. Since they've acquired James Harden, Paul George's numbers have actually went down. And even if they make a run this year, I don't know if they're going to get a verbal agreement from Paul George that he's going to resign there. I think Paul George is going to try out this season with the Clippers. He will enter free agency and will maybe go someplace else. I think Paul George is going to try. I honestly think Paul George's contract negotiations won't happen until the offseason. I think Paul George maybe wants to stick it out with the Clippers, see how this whole James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George thing works out. They're first in the West now, which is shocking. They've been on a fucking tear. But the thing is this a team that can win a championship? Is this a team that can beat the Denver Nuggets in 7 games? That's a question. And not for nothing, but that Western Conference is not light. You know what I'm saying? You got OKC Thunder. The Timberwolves are the best defensive team in the league. You got the Nuggets. The Thunder aren't going to go away quietly. This is a team that's like they're going to have to get the right matchups in the playoffs in order to make it to the finals. Granted, if it started today, they'd be playing the Utah Jazz, and that's a team that I think they could definitely beat the fucking brakes off of in 7 games. But the thing is, once you get to that second round, you're going to have to play a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves or the OKC Thunder or the Denver Nuggets. And once it comes to those teams, I'm like, it's not a walk in the park anymore. So, that's why I question this. I don't know. Like, the only reason I say Paul George is because there is a possibility that Paul George comes out and says he absolutely won't re-sign with the Clippers if, let's just say they offer him a contract tomorrow or today, and Paul George takes it as an embarrassing offer, which is a possibility. He's averaging 22.6 points per game on Fanspo, but he's a guy that, from what I thought I saw 20 points per game on Basketball Reference. I could be wrong, but he's a guy that will probably have to take less money if they want to bring back James Harden, and I don't really know how much James Harden or Paul George is going to be willing to do that. That's the reason I keep bringing up Paul George in trade rumors, is because James Harden wants to be the guy, but Paul George is also making 45 bands a year, and the question here eventually becomes who takes less money for the other to come back. Right? That's the question here. I would assume it's James Harden, but you never know. This is like, I know they re-signed Kawhi Leonard, but this could go downhill very, very fucking quickly if this is not executed perfectly by the Los Angeles Clippers. It could go one of two ways. This is a team that I'm thinking, I don't know how they're gonna retain both Harden and Paul George. Like, let me just put it that way. I have no idea how they're gonna retain that. Because Paul George could have told them also that he plans to pick up his player option at the end of the season, and he just chooses not to and goes someplace else. I don't know how true that is, but if I'm the Clippers, trading Paul George in the next day or so has to at least be on your mind somewhat. Like, Paul George is a guy that you need to get a verbal commitment from. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I'm the GM of the Clippers, I'm calling Paul George in my office and saying, listen, are you going to re-sign with us? Because if not, I'm sending you someplace else. Because honestly, this team doesn't go anywhere, I don't think, without all three of them on the roster. And, honestly, you can live without Harden, but Harden is what makes the ship go forward. And Paul George is a guy that I'm just like, contract negotiations haven't, I don't know how great they've been, but it's a little alarming. I'm just going to say that. It's a little alarming. He's one of the surprise guys that I think could be on the trading block come tomorrow. Just in case, today doesn't go well at all. So those are some of the guys that I think will definitely be traded. The Spurs have Doug McDermott. Doug McDermott's a guy that I could see getting moved for a team that maybe wants more three-point shooting. The Pelicans, maybe they move Jonas Valanciunas for somebody. He's got 1 year left on his deal. Apparently Herb Jones is available. I don't know why they'd be willing to trade him, because he's a damn good defender, but they're looking to move off of him. Somebody will definitely trade for Herb Jones, by the way. Somebody, I don't know who, but he's a guy that I could see getting moved. D'Angelo Russell's a guy that I honestly don't know what the Lakers do, to be honest with you. D'Angelo Russell would be a guy that they would like to move to maybe get somebody who's better at defense. Obviously, they'd like to get DeJounte Murray, but I'm skeptical on both teams at this moment. Obviously, like the Lakers, it's like, can you trade D'Angelo Russell and get what you want out of it? And if you're Atlanta, it's like you've been winning recently. Like, do you want to give up DeJounte Murray now while you're on a hot streak? And really send this bitch into rebuild mode? I don't know. I know the Lakers would love to get DeJounte Murray, but, I just don't think... I don't know what else they would have to include to get DeJounte Murray, because I know D'Angelo Russell straight up is just not going to work. So, there's that. The Timberwolves have Mike Conley, but I think they're going to keep him around. The OKC Thunder have Davis Bertans. I'm sure they'd like to get off that contract, but I think they're going to keep him. There's really not a lot. The Warriors with Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins would be a guy they'd like to get off of. Even Chris Paul. Wiggins, Chris Paul, and Klay Thompson, I'm sure, are all guys that they're going to want to get off of. If I'm the Golden State Warriors, I maybe call Chicago about DeRozan for Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins has just been fucking terrible this year. He's still got 4 years left on his deal. Dude just has not been the same since last year, sitting out for personal reasons. I watched him play recently. I forgot who they were playing the Hawks. The Warriors were playing the Atlanta Hawks, and I swear Andrew Wiggins missed like every fucking shot I watched him take. He can't finish around the basket anymore. He's not making three-pointers. His defense has fallen off a cliff. Like, Andrew Wiggins needs a change of scenery. And if I'm the Golden State Warriors, you know what? If DeRozan's out there, yeah, give me DeRozan. Wiggins is 28. He's a lot younger than DeRozan. If you're Chicago, maybe you just take on his contract to get a younger dude. Obviously Jonathan Kuminga's actually been balling this year, to be honest with you. Kuminga's been proving me wrong this year, but Kuminga's a guy that I feel like in order to trade Wiggins, they would have to include Kuminga, but with as good as he's been playing over the past month, I don't know if they're going to want to include him. Klay Thompson's a guy that has been playing abysmal. I'm sure they're going to try to move Klay Thompson, but it's probably not going to happen. Not for $43 million, it's not. The Bulls are struggling to trade Zach LaVine. If they're struggling to trade Zach LaVine, I promise you the Warriors are going to struggle to trade Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson is fucking washed at this point. He's 34 years old. He's only got... I don't even think he has a good 2 years left, to be honest with you. If I'm the Warriors, I try to get whatever I can for him. You know, even if it is Buddy Hield, or actually, if I'm a Pacers fan, I don't fucking want Klay Thompson. But if you can pull off a Buddy Hield, a Joe Harris, a Evan Fournier, you do it. And same thing with Andrew Wiggins, right? Like Wiggins, Chris Paul, and Klay Thompson are all guys they need to try to come off of. And unfortunately, it's probably going to include having to include a guy like maybe Dario Saric, Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga to come off of some of those contracts, especially Klay Thompson. If you want to come off Klay Thompson, you're probably going to have to come off Jonathan Kuminga. If you want to come off of Andrew Wiggins, you're probably going to have to come off Jonathan Kuminga. And if you want to come off Chris Paul, maybe not. His contract next year is only partially guaranteed. So maybe you can finesse a team into trading for him, but Chris Paul's 38. I mean, his best days are definitely behind him. So I don't know, man. You know what? There's a lot of guys that could be on the move tomorrow, but those are the names that I'd be looking out for. Those are the guys that I think will definitely get traded. Gabe Vincent, a guy that could also get traded. Quentin Grimes, I think, will definitely get traded as well. So I don't know, man. Andre Drummond would be a nice pickup for the Pacers. They need some fucking rebounding, and Andre Drummond can rebound the fucking basketball. Like, if the Pacers trade for anybody, Andre Drummond is the guy that I would like them to trade for, because Andre Drummond's on the trading block as well for the Chicago Bulls. Anybody on the Chicago Bulls roster over the age of, 28 is probably available for pickup. So Andre Drummond would be a nice guy to pick up. So anyway, that's it for me. Tell me what you guys think about this down below in the comment section below. Helps me out. Subscribe if you guys want to see more. I'm the Fast Break Report, and I'm out of this motherfucker. Peace, guys.